AFR On Demand is brought to you by Breck Golf. Try Beaver Creek today, just 20 minutes from downtown Baton Rouge in the Zachary area. They've got a PGA Tour driving range, a short game practice area, 30 to 40-yard practice shots. It's a great place to chip and putt and practice if you don't have time for a full round. Book your tee time today, golf.breck.org, golf.breck.org.
Matt Moscona.
I'm very important.
After further review.
Say it one more time.
After further review with Matt Moscona.
And here we go.
Live from the Raising Cane studio.
Let's ride!
Off we go. Welcome aboard. Glad you're with us. It's AFR presented by Decision Critical, Concierge Nursing. I'm Matt.
This is Shaq O'Neal, and I hate Matt.
Paul O'Neal.
They're chanting Paul O'Neal's name.
You so. And Mr. Toby Tomplay. All right, we're here. Glad you are as well. Get out there and make it a good one. Ross Jackson in about 15 minutes. We'll head to Oxford, talk to Michael Katz, preview Ole Miss Tulane next hour, Lee Sterling's best bets, Mike Triplett in hour 3. Let us begin as we do every single day.
It's time to pop the top on another edition of AFR with Bud Light. Drink easy.
It's been really quiet out at LSU from Lane Kiffin ever since he was hired. Remember, he was hired on a Sunday. He had his introductory press conference Monday. And since then, Lane Kiffin has not spoken a word into a microphone or a camera. He was supposed to go on College Game Day, canceled that. He has not gone on the Pat McAfee show. He did not have a press conference around the December signing period. It has been radio silence for Lane Kiffin. Except now he's very active on Twitter, which is objectively really funny. But he has not been very public. He has not been seen really around town, again, except to go work out in the mornings. And I think most people have been perfectly fine with that. He's working. He's building a roster and a staff and all the stuff. Until what happened this week that made some people a little antsy when we learned this week that Frank Wilson is not going to be retained. Not only that he's not going to be retained, but that he's going to Ole Miss. And then within 12, 15 hours of that, Colin Hurley and Carius Kern enter the portal. 9 players have gone in the portal. And I think some are wondering, what's going on? First of all, I will tell you unequivocally that those things, Frank Wilson leaving and Kern, Hurley going in the portal, they're not in any way related at all. I can tell you that unequivocally. So what I wanted to do was kind of give you a best sense, as I understand it, of what has been going on and what Lane Kiffin and Billy Glasscock, the new general manager at LSU, have been doing. Also in conjunction with Mike Williams, who's the director of player personnel at LSU as well on the new staff. And we're learning, all of these guys. I think what is really apparent, remember on Monday here on the show, we had Juwan Johnson with us. And Juwan's one of the guys that's entered the portal or is intending to enter the portal. And Juwan told us on Monday, just 3 days ago, that up until that point, he had still not talked to Lane Kiffin. And by the way, I don't think that's out of the ordinary. It may seem that way, but just follow the path, right? So Kiffin's hired on that Sunday. Monday is the introductory press conference. Wednesday was the early signing period. So we had a ton of work to do for the December signing period. From there, that brain trust sort of immediately turned the page to roster evaluation. Now, I'm going to be transparent here. I still have not spoken to Lane Kiffin or Billy Glasscock or Mike Williams. I did meet Thaddeus Rivers on Tuesday night for the first time. We didn't talk shop or anything. It was just a casual greeting. Hello, how are you? But I've kind of tried to piece all of this together without having the opportunities to go ask Lane Kiffin questions. I'm trying to piece all this together by talking to a lot of people who have spoken to Lane Kiffin, right? And that's administrators, and that's high school coaches, and that's boosters and agents and current players and current staff members and a lot of people who have had those conversations. And so it's almost like I've used this analogy, it's like dumping puzzle pieces on a table. So it's like, well, here's not giving you the full puzzle, but you have all the pieces here, so you start to put it together. Well, you get the corner pieces first, and you try to build the border, and you know how to put together a puzzle. So it's similar, kind of how I've worked this. And I think what is maybe the thing that you need to know first and foremost is that of the 9 players that have gone in the portal so far, none of them that's declared is a player that LSU intended to keep. And may surprise you some, but I'll come back and fill in some of these blanks in a second. None of these are players they either intended to keep or keep at the same pay of a year ago. And that's going to be one big shift here. As I will talk a little bit about the financial component of this, the money part of this, because what Lane Kiffin and his staff right now are doing is they are using this time from these couple of weeks since they've been here to do a full evaluation of the current roster. And that is watching film, getting coaches' assessments, character assessments, looking at their physical traits, the team dynamics, talking to academic staff, talking to the strength staff, getting a full picture of every player in the current roster, and then assigning a value to each player. So as I understand, there's a big board in the coach's office there at Football Ops, and they have this big board where they've assigned value to each player. And I think one of the complicating factors financially is this staff in their evaluation may have a different valuation, monetary valuation for a player than the team did a year ago. So all that to say, there may be a guy that's on the roster right now that they'd be open to having back, but at a smaller number financially than what they made a year ago. And if the player's not okay with that, they may go test the market in the portal, which I think is completely understandable if it happens that way. And I think one of the things that's probably revealing itself a little bit here is that LSU was so cash rich a season ago and were so all in, they probably overspent. Brian Kelly threw out the number, $18 million. So you went and spent $20 million on a roster. And I think what's pretty obvious is that there was some misevaluations. You spent $20 million on a roster and you went 7-5. I mean, that, I don't think I'm speaking out of turn. Can we all agree to that? There are some players you brought in that had exceptional seasons. Monster Delane is a unanimous All-American. You hit on a lot of these guys. But I think you also very clearly misevaluated. You should have spent more on the offensive line. Probably should have spent less at receiver, the skill positions. I mean, it's just very clear in some of these spots where they missed. I think it's also worth noting that a reason this has taken a little bit of time is you have a challenge of the new staff coming in and out, right? So that the staff came in on that Sunday, some more trickled in after, and then the decision was made that these guys would go back to coach Ole Miss in the playoff. Ole Miss plays on Saturday. And so some of these guys have been back and forth, coaching, being in Oxford to coach Ole Miss for their playoff run, and then also coming back and for the signing day, and then back and forth. So I think that's also slowed some of this a little bit as well. I would fully anticipate at this point you are going to have more current LSU players go into the portal before that January 2nd date when the portal opens. Like, you're going to have more players declare for the portal because this week is the week that they are beginning those retention meetings. Like, remember, we talked to Juwan Johnson on Monday, and he hadn't spoken yet to Lane Kiffin. So this week is when those retention meetings with the current roster have started. So So I think that's no surprise. It's why you've started to see more of those names come out of players intending to enter the portal, and there's going to be more. They'll leak out and trickle out. How many? I don't know what that number will stop at, but I think one of the things that Lane Kiffin said early on was like they weren't, before signing days, like we're going to sign the best players we can. We're not going to sign guys just because they went to a certain high school or they were offered, and then they're going to go ham in the portal. And it's very evident what that approach here is going to be. I mean, this was Kiffin in that introductory press conference, like talking about that very thing.
We have big picture thinking too. So we're not reaching or we're not signing kids because they're from this school or that school or any of that stuff. Okay, we're going to sign the best players that we can on Wednesday, then go to the portal, which I have zero concern about the interest of players with that, because I know what the interest was of players nationally come play for us where we were just at, and now when you put that with this stadium with that logo. I mean, makes me want to go get on the phone right now, but the portal's not open.
I mean, he's telling you what the approach is going to be. And it's interesting to me because we talked a little bit about this with the news that Frank Wilson was leaving and just the different approach, right, that LSU is going to be more portal heavy. And I'm getting a lot of pushback from people saying, like, it's a bad take by me. People, this isn't a take. Like, I'm not giving you my opinion. This is what they're doing. You just heard the man say it. We're not going to go sign a bunch of kids we'll sign the best players we can. They signed 14, and the average rating of the LSU signees was the number one average rating in the country. They're not going to go sign 30. The days of LSU signing 35, 30 high school kids is over. Lane's going to go sign 15 really good high school players and then go heavy in the portal. That's how he wants to do it. And you can say, and I've had some of you point out, well, no, you got to build your base and your foundation through the high school ranks. That was Brian Kelly's approach. And I thought that was the better approach. But what's clearly manifest is you go sign these 18-year-olds. They come, Carius Kern. It's a 5-star. All the investment you made into signing Carius Kern, you get 7 games out of him, he's gone. Wouldn't you rather go sign a guy that's played 28 games at a Power 4 and bring him in for 1 year instead of an 18-year-old that's cutting his teeth? Like, that's the approach. You can make up your mind on what you think is best. I'm just telling you, like, this is what they're doing. Like, this is what Lane Kiffin and Billy Glasscock are doing right now. And yes, you need both. You can't just have one. Like, I'm not telling you they're going to sign 85 scholarship guys out of the portal. Of course, that's stupid. Of course, they're not doing that. I don't even think that's plausible. But the key is evaluation. I'm going to continue to underscore, bold, font, 72-point font Times New Roman. Like, the key to this whole thing for Lane Kiffin and Billy Glasscock is their evaluation. They believe their ability to evaluate talent and allocate those resources appropriately is the differentiator. Like, think about the NFL. Let me give you an example that maybe you're not emotional about, that, so this will make sense. Look at the Miami Dolphins. Miami drafted Tua with a top 10 pick. That's okay. Sometimes you miss on draft picks, but they're still on a rookie contract. The problem Miami has is the gigantic $250 million contract they gave Tua, because next year Tua is owed $56 million against the cap. That's 18% of Miami's cap. So between Tua and Tyreek Hill, Miami, that 35% of their entire salary cap next year is tied up into Tua and Tyreek Hill. You want to know why Miami's going to stink? Because of that. You misevaluated. So take that and now put it into what Lane Kiffin and Billy Glasscock are doing right now. They understand the budget they have to build this roster, and they are trusting their evaluation to go do that with how they're looking at current guys on the roster, what financial investment they believe they're worth for retention, the high school class that you just signed with 14 players, and then what we're going to see come January 2nd. And that's what they have been doing since Lane Kiffin showed up. It has been all about evaluating the roster, assigning financial values to all of these players currently, prioritizing players and positions in the portal So come January 2nd, you're hitting the ground running, ready to roll. That's where they are right now. And one other interesting note to remember, the portal opens January 2nd, but players can't actually visit. That's a Friday. Players can't actually visit campus until January the 5th, that Monday. So I've still had people at LSU use the word explosive to me. They expect January 2nd to be explosive. But I don't think it's going to be like all just one big dump on January the 2nd of talent coming in, because you are going to have some guys, I think, that come on the 5th or that week to make visits. So just something to file away and keep in mind as LSU gets closer. But Lane Kiffin and Billy Glasscock and Mike Williams, they're head down right now in all their evaluations. And this week they're starting to make their way through the current roster to determine who will be back next year. And I do think over the remainder of this week, as we head toward the bowl game next week, a week from Saturday, you'll have even more current LSU Tigers declare their intention to hit the portal. All right, it's after further review. Our show, Open Every Day, is brought to you by Bud Light. Drink easy with a great taste of Bud Light. Official beer of AFR. Official beer of the LSU Tigers. Official beer of the New Orleans Saints. Got some time off. Maybe going to head out to some holiday parties. Of course, we got our company Christmas party here tonight. Or maybe it's, of course, I always remind you to drink responsibly. If you do drink, don't drive. Our friends at Mockler Beverage always want to encourage everybody to be safe all the time, but certainly during the holiday season as well. But make sure that if you are drinking responsibly, you do so with the great taste of Bud Light, the official beer of AFR, the official beer of the LSU Tigers, the official beer of the New Orleans Saints. Drink easy with Bud Light. Okay, let me not get a break. We'll come back. The Saints added a running back, and a really interesting piece by Ross Jackson up at LouisianaSports.net about how the Saints have improved one of their biggest Achilles heels and biggest flaws from earlier in the season. Ross is going to join us to talk about that next. It's AFR.
AFR.
I know this is a first world problem, but you ever pull up your web browser and then you just see like the little wheel spinning, and instead of a website loading in like half a second, it takes like 4 seconds? And those 4 seconds feel like 4 hours. Like, you know what I'm talking about, right? Yes, again, first world problem. But if you want to be rid of that problem forever, you need Rev. R-E-V. Let'sRev.com, Let'sRev.com, Let'sRev.com. 90 years of local service, lightning fast internet speed, backed by great local providers and an all-fiber network. So sometimes, as annoying as it is, if a storm comes, again, first world problems, but storm comes or whatever, knocks power out, knocks internet out, with Rev having a fiber network that's buried under the ground, you don't have to worry about a tree falling on a power line and knocking out your internet. R-E-V. Let'sRev.com.
After further review with Matt Moscona, presented by Decision Critical Concierge Nursing. Healthcare for your lifestyle. Learn more at DecisionCriticalVR.com.
Three games left here. How are kind of the chances of getting Neal or Bailey back?
Yeah, we'll just kind of see how the next couple days go. We'll see how those guys go, but they'll obviously be out this week, and obviously the timeline's tight, but we'll see what happens.
If you couldn't hear, that was a question about Neal and Vele and their opportunity to return this season. Probably a little peek behind the curtain with the Saints adding a running back today, what the prospects are for Neal. Anyway, Ross Jackson, LouisianaSports.net, Locked On Saints, good enough to join us for a couple of minutes here as the Saints are getting off the practice field with one more day to go here before the weekend, where they're welcoming the Jets. Ross, we appreciate it, man. How are you?
Yeah, man, I'm doing great. Thanks so much for having me on.
Our pleasure. Okay, let's start with the running back situation there. Nyheim Hines was added today. Maybe just read between the lines here with Neal. What's a realistic expectation for him for the rest of the year?
Yeah, so for the rest of the year, we're not super sure yet, but I will say that when it comes to the hamstring injury, he had a hamstring injury during training camp, and it kept him out for about a week of training camp plus a couple of preseason games. And so we've kind of seen a little bit of a track record here with what an injury like this could potentially mean. There is also, with only 2 games left in the season, an argument in favor of, you know what, don't worry about rushing him back. It's the end of the year. You're not playing for anything in terms of playoff positioning or seeding or anything like that. Let him, you're going to need him next year. Let him rest up. So I could see the conversation going either way. I think it's more the timeline that makes things trickier more than it is maybe the severity of the injury. But obviously the intersection of both of those things makes things a little bit challenging. And so with the addition of Nyheim Hines, a little bit more of a versatile all-around receiver, rusher, actually has more receiving yards in his career than he has rushing yards in his career by about 570 plus yards. He is somebody that could potentially come in and kind of help out both from adding another rusher, but then also giving you a bit of that receiving versatility that you're missing with Alvin Kamara right now. And of course that Devin Neal has proven to have a bit in his coffer, if you will, of talent across his rookie year. So I think that if I'm reading between the lines, I think that there's maybe a drive towards not rushing him back just for the kind of saving him from himself kind of a situation there. But, we don't know for sure yet what it looks like for the rest of the season, but we do know for certain that he's out this weekend.
So who is going to run the ball for the Saints this weekend against the Jets?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a lot of Audric Estime, the big body back, number 30. He caught a couple of screen passes that went 19 yards. He also had a 9-yard catch over the middle of the field, kind of in that clutch drive, trying to get to get in field goal range for Charlie Smith there at the end of the game. And is a good rusher as well, a good runner between the tackles guy. He was with the Broncos last year, so the system from Denver to New Orleans isn't too terribly dissimilar. A lot of the verbiage is different, but some of the concepts and things like that have overlap. And so he's kind of fit in pretty quickly. And then I think you'll see a little bit of Evan Hull, the former Northwestern running back, who's a bit more versatile, can run in between the tackles, but can also run outside the tackles and can catch passes out of the backfield. And he would kind of be a bit more of the change of pace back. I'm not certain that this weekend we see much of Nyheim Hines just because of how quick the turnaround is from him being added to the practice squad to on Wednesday evening and then him getting his first practice on Thursday and then the game being on Sunday. So I expect a lot of the running game to be between those two guys and maybe a bit more Taysom Hill mixed in as well.
Ross Jackson's with us at Ross Jackson NOLA if you want to get in there. Ross, you also have a piece up over at LouisianaSports.net about the Saints' improvement in the red zone.
Yeah.
Look, they were objectively awful there. Let's first start with some context on how much they've improved there.
Yeah, I think it's important to state just how bad they were. Like, I don't mean to drive this home, but historically bad, Matt. At 34.5% before the last three games, that was their conversion rate of red zone possessions to touchdowns. If you look at the 320 NFL seasons that have been played in the last 10 years, that was number 317.
Ooh.
So fourth worst. Bad. And so now all of a sudden, though, over the course of the past three games, they've had 8 red zone possessions, 6 red zone touchdowns. They're at 75%. That's tied amongst a pretty lengthy group of teams for second in the NFL at 75%. So they've completely turned this thing around in terms of their ability to be able to produce in the red zone. And a couple of things that they did to kind of make that possible is really good pre-snap designs by Kellen Moore, using sort of the offset tight end usage for Kelvin Banks Jr. on the Devin Neal rushing touchdown, a lot of motion on the 12-yard slant touchdown to Chris Olave, and then just allowing his offense to be his offense as opposed to trying to shoehorn sort of the Taysom Hill game plan in, which is something that he never really feels very comfortable with, Kellen Moore, or hasn't really seen a lot of success with at least. And so once he kind of got away from trying to make that happen, it felt like this thing really settled in here over the course of the past 3 games.
How much also, and this is just something that's completely subjective, how much do we attribute this to Tyler Shuck just getting better and more comfortable?
Yeah, I think there's a good portion of that. I think that there's a portion of it's him getting, better and more comfortable, and it's maybe Kellen Moore being better and more comfortable with Tyler Shuck at, under the hood, if you will, as well. Like, I think all of that still plays into how this all works out for New Orleans. And so I think that's a major part of it. I think that Tyler Shuck has done a very good job with the little things like ball placement, timing, quick reads, going through the pure progressions, understanding what the goal is of each player in each play and how to dissect that and how to utilize it. And then adding his own ability to be able to be a runner and extend plays to that equation as well, I think has been a big part of it. And so even in situations where it's just a handoff, sure, it's just a handoff, but his ability and the defense's knowledge of his ability to also keep it and run maybe causes a hesitation somewhere that helps it, right? So there is like a little bit of a ripple effect with the effectiveness of Tyler Shuck and the threat of Tyler Shuck, both as a passer and as a runner, that has also kind of contributed to this really big-time turnaround within the 20.
Ross Jackson, LouisianaSports.net, and Locked On Saints. Make sure you subscribe on your favorite podcast app or on YouTube. You can read Ross over at LouisianaSports.net. One more thing, the absentee list at practice. I know you were out there, but it's long and distinguished. What do you think of great significance here on this absentee list from earlier today?
Yeah, I mean, look, we know, like we just discussed, we know, Devin Neal's out, but we know the same thing for Devon Bailey, who has totaled 16 catches and over 200 receiving yards and a receiving touchdown in the last 3 games. So he's become a big part of what the Saints are doing on offense and how comfortable Tyler Shuck has been. And so the wide receiver room is going to be one to watch, especially because we also didn't see, or Mason Tipton also wasn't seen out at practice today as well. And so what we don't know is, was that injury related, or is that part of the roster management around having to deal with all of these injuries? And so that will be a name just to kind of watch in terms of maybe what happened there. But if that's an in-practice injury or something that happened, and that's a big-time hit to what is already a shorthanded wide receiver room. And then on the offensive line, no Cesar Ruiz still, and so I would expect William Sherman potentially to be back in there. They went with him instead of Torres Simpkins this time to get a look at him. But that means that the Saints are down to 6, 7, 8 offensive linemen at this point yet again for another season. And so those are going to be the big things to watch. It's going to be a really hampered offense potentially going up against the New York Jets this weekend.
I'm sorry, did you say 6, 7?
Yeah, I did say 6, 7, didn't I?
You said 6, 7, 8? I just omitted the 8.
I'm with the times.
There are children heading home from school right now in their parents' car that are laughing hysterically and annoying their parents, and we all have you to thank for that, Ross.
You're so welcome.
He is Ross Jackson, LouisianaSports.net, Locked On Saints, of course on Twitter at Ross Jackson Nola. Thanks, man. We appreciate it.
Absolutely, I appreciate you. Talk to you soon. You take care. Stay safe.
All right, babe. Be well. It is After Further Review. We're brought to you by Parish Restoration. The 6-7 thing has to stop. That it needs to expire immediately. We're brought to you by Parish Restoration. I mean, Kim Mulkey calling a timeout the other day, if you didn't see it, when the women were playing that day game over at the Maravich Center, and they were at 65 points. Mulkey called a timeout. And it was a day game. So it was like the day where all the kids took off. I guess it was like field trip day over at the Maravich Center. And she called timeout to drop an inbound play to get a very quick bucket to get to 6-7. And the explosion of, I mean, do we have that? I got to be able to find this really quickly. If you haven't seen it, it's everywhere. ESPN shared it on all their platforms. I mean, it was. I don't know. Let's see if this is the 6-7 moment. Wait, this is it. I think this has got to be it. I don't know why they would share anything other. Yep, here it is. Can you?
I have no idea what the heck you're talking about, but I'm having fun.
I mean, I'm not trying to be the fun police, and I want kids to have a great time. But you've had your fun with this one, and it's time to move on to something else. Can we move on to like 8, 9? Anything other than this? Do a different gesture instead of up down, maybe side side. I don't know. Do the Nick Saban, whatever. I was supposed to tell you about Parish Restoration. Just know that if you call them, they're going to come spray this dry fog, and it's going to kill all the bad things: mold, flu, COVID, other harmful pathogens, home, vehicle, commercial building, office, doctor's office, odor from sweat, pets, smoke. ParishRestoration.com. 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 All right, it's After Further Review. We're not going to break. We'll go around the SEC when we come back. And how about Coach Miles coming back to Baton Rouge? If you've not, Coach Miles is coming back to Baton Rouge. I can't wait to tell you about this next. It's AFR.
AFR.
We're brought to you by Darren James and Associates, brokered by LPT Realty. If you are thinking about selling your home, you need to call Darren James. Listen, we're moving into a new year. You know, a new year for a lot of folks is when you have a sort of a new beginning. Maybe you're starting the new year in a new home, new job, new school for the kiddos, and you need to sell your home. If you need to sell your home, you need to do it fast for the most amount of money. You need Darren James. Listen, Darren James is on the Wall Street Journal's list of the top 1% of realtors in America. Think about that. You could fill Tiger Stadium 15 times. And if you took all of those people, Darren, and ranked them, Darren would be number 14 on the list based on the number of homes sold. Why? He's got the right people. He's got the right systems in place to get your home sold faster for more money. He guarantees it. If Darren doesn't sell your home at a price by the deadline you agree to, he'll have your home bought with cash or he'll sell it for free. Log on to agent225.com, agent225.com.
Think real estate, think Darren James.
After Further Review with Matt Moscona, presented by Decision Critical Concierge Nursing. Healthcare for your lifestyle. Learn more at decisioncriticalbr.com.
And so much flu going around right now. And my wife, Erica, works at a school. She's like, they're dropping like flies. Sick, and you need to get over it, or you want to build up your immunity. IV hydration therapy is a great way to do that. Decision Critical can come to your home or office, so it's super convenient. DecisionCriticalBR.com, DecisionCriticalBR.com. IV hydration therapy, just one part of the bevy of menu of services that they offer at Decision Critical. It's not just healthcare, it's healthcare for your lifestyle. It's After Further Review. We're glad you're hanging out with us here. I love this story. I mentioned Coach Miles is returning to Baton Rouge, but not Les Miles. Ben Miles. So Matt Zenitz reporting that Florida State grad assistant Ben Miles is set to be hired as Marshall Faulk's tight ends coach and recruiting coordinator at Southern. It's a return to Baton Rouge, as he notes, for the son of former LSU head coach Les Miles. Before Florida State, Ben Miles worked at Texas A&M. So Ben and Manny were both trying their hand at coaching. You know, we've talked to Smacker, who is living in Dallas and doing media, and Macy Miles, who, this is so wild. Macy, when Les was hired, right, and they in 2005, and they had the introductory press conference. Kathy Miles at that press conference was holding their infant child. That was Macy, who's now like a stud softball player at UCF down in Orlando. So the Miles children are all grown up and doing well. Regardless of how everything ended with Les and Baton Rouge, that's irrelevant. It was a family that gave a lot to this community for a lot of years, and a lot of people here saw those children grow up for a dozen years, and they're all doing really well. And Ben is a Catholic High alum, so you can roll your eyes if you want. I don't care. Was part of the state championship team with Clyde Edwards-Helaire that upset Rummel in the Dome. Ben caught a touchdown pass in that game. And is an all-around great dude, and I'm very excited for him. So congrats to Ben Miles. He'll be coming back to Baton Rouge to join Marshall Faulk's staff as tight ends coach and recruiting coordinator. And so we are all connected in the great circle of life. All right, it's After Further Review. Another former LSU coach is heading back to the SEC. I'll get to that in a second. We are brought to you by the Williamson Eye Center. 924-2020, 924-2020, or WilliamsonEye.com. That's WilliamsonEye.com. It is not too late, y'all. It's not too late to give the gift of LASIK, PRK, the custom lens replacement, whatever refractive procedure you may need or your loved one may need. You can still give that as a gift here for Christmas. And if a lot of times families will go in and purchase that procedure for a loved one, and then on Christmas, like the Williamson Eye Center can give you like a gift certificate. They can make something beautifully packaged that you can actually present to your loved one for Christmas, but give them something that will last forever. Give them the gift of sight. 924-2020, 924-2020, 924-2020, or WilliamsonEye.com. Okay, do it every day about this time. Let's go around the SEC.
Around the SEC, bringing you the biggest news from the nation's best conference. The Texas Longhorns
Steve Sarkisian has fired defensive coordinator Pete Kwiatkowski and passing game coordinator Dwayne Akina. And Will Muschamp is returning to Texas as the defensive coordinator. Remember, Muschamp previously was the defensive coordinator from 2008 to 2010, where he was actually the coach in waiting and then got the head coaching job at the University of Florida after that. Muschamp had been on staff at Georgia since 2021.
The Missouri Tigers.
Bo Pribula will enter the transfer portal. He will miss the Gator Bowl. Transferred this year to Missouri from Penn State. He's told the staff that he's leaving, so he won't play in the Gator Bowl against Virginia. Helped Missouri to a 6-1 start this season. Was hurt early in the third quarter of a game against Vanderbilt and has not played. So Matt Zollers will play the bowl game.
The Ole Miss Rebels.
4 Ole Miss starters have announced they will return for 2026. Chief among them is linebacker Suntarian Perkins, defensive tackle Will Eccles, center Bryson Sanders, and defensive back Antonio Kite, all committing to returning next year, year one of the Pete Golding era. Rebs attempting to bring back star running back Kawan Lacey and Trinidad Chambliss, but obviously LSU may have something to say about that.
Texas A&M!
Running back Le'Veon Moss is questionable for Texas A&M's game against Miami on Saturday. Moss missed the final 6 games of the regular season with an ankle injury, but he has returned to practice here ahead of the CFP. In his absence, redshirt sophomore Reuben Owens has blossomed into the leading rusher there for the Aggies.
The Auburn Tigers.
Starting defensive tackle Malik Blockton will enter the transfer portal. He has been there at Auburn for the past 2 seasons. He was a 3-star recruit in 2024, but has emerged into being one of the more consistent defensive linemen there for the Tigers. Played 413 snaps, which was most among Auburn's interior defensive linemen this year.
The Florida Gators.
And tight end Hayden Hansen will enter the transfer portal. He was the starting tight end for the previous 25 games since he showed up in 2023. Actually started 9 times as a redshirt freshman. He's in his 4th season with the Gators, started all 12 games this year. He's 6'7", 246 pounds, got 1 year of eligibility remaining. All right, there you have it. That is Around the SEC. Thursday shows presented by Decision Critical Concierge Nursing. Every Thursday during the football season, we check in with our buddy Darren Tietgen for our Fantasy Blitz. Before you set your roster, check with our guys at whotostart.net, whotostart.net. Our Fantasy Blitz with Darren Tietgen is next to wrap up hour number 1 of AFR.
After further review.
We're brought to you by River City's 1 Hour Air, where they're always on time or you don't pay a dime. Give them a buzz, y'all. 752-0001, 752-0001, 752-0001, 752-0001. Look for the big yellow vans and trucks with the giant clock on the side. You see them all over town because your friends and neighbors trust River City's 1 Hour Air just like I do. I've mentioned this often before, but I'm going to say it again. It is worth joining their maintenance club, okay? Eric and I joined the maintenance club years ago, so I'm not touting something that I don't pay for. This is something Eric and I pay for, and it's a commitment we made because it's worth it. As a part of the maintenance club, you get complimentary seasonal maintenance. So when we talk about the heater safety check and the AC tune-up, that's complimentary. They call you to schedule, by the way. Incredible. That pays for this. It also gets you front-of-the-line service. It gets you membership club pricing. It's worth it, y'all. It's River City's 1 Hour Air, 752-0001.
After further review with Matt Moscona, presented by Decision Critical Concierge Nursing. Healthcare for your lifestyle. Learn more at decisioncriticalbr.com. After further review, this is the Fantasy Football Blitz.
Do you know who I am?
Powered by whotostart.net.
Who the hell are you?
Whotostart.net. The Fantasy Football Blitz.
Who the bitten?
This is the Fantasy Football Blitz, powered by whotostart.net.
Who are you?
Wrapping up hour number 1. Darren Tietgen joins us. Get your fantasy football questions in. Email us, tweet us, or text 225-396-4400, 396-4400. Darren, how are you, man?
I'm doing pretty good.
Awesome, man. We appreciate you for joining. As always, big one tonight. Rams, Seahawks. One that pits the top 2 teams in the NFC right now. Who are we keeping an eye on?
Yeah, this should be a good game. Both teams at 11-3, fighting for the top dog, and not only the NFC West, but pretty much the NFC in general. The receivers we're looking at with Devontae Adams likely to be out. Obviously, Puka Nacua becomes the big target for Matthew Stafford. Maybe his tight end, Colby Parkinson, who's come on strong. And then, of course, for the Seattle Seahawks, it all goes to JSN.
What about sleepers for this week?
Yeah, we've got a couple for you. One that you probably have possibly mentioned on a different segment, but Audric Estime for the Saints looks like kind of one of the last guys standing for the Saints running back core. Good matchup against the Jets. The Jets are pretty much given up, but definitely not the defense they once were. So look for Audric Estime to get, I don't know, maybe 12 or 15 carries, maybe a touchdown. So if you're looking for that last flex spot or something like that, Estime could do the trick. Then also at wide receiver, we're liking Jalen Coker from the Panthers. They're facing a Tampa Bay team that runs that Tampa 2 scheme, and Coker, big guys like him and Ted McMillan for the Panthers should do well against that zone scheme for Tampa.
All right, you can get your questions in for Darren. Email us, tweet us, or text 225-396-4400, 396-4400, 396-4400. We'll get to it. Craig said, all right, who to start, Justin Herbert or Drake May?
Probably going with May here. I think they're just going to the Chargers just going to rely on the run with Herbert's hand. It's not his throwing hand, obviously, but it's still bothering him a little bit. So I'd expect them to run a little bit more than the Patriots, and the Patriots do have a nice matchup. So I think I'm going Drake May there.
Grant, another quarterback question: Tyler Shuck or C.J. Stroud? Who to start?
Yeah, I'm still not. I mean, the Shuck is looking good in terms of being, an NFL quarterback, but not necessarily a fantasy quarterback. C.J. Stroud's got the nice matchup. He has some good weapons, so I think I'm going Stroud.
Another quarterback question from Ray: who to start, Stafford or Love?
Stafford goes to a pretty hostile environment. I'm not sure if I haven't checked the weather up in Seattle, but I understand it was supposed to be raining, so Stafford might be a riskier play, especially without Devontae Adams. So I'm leaning Jordan Love there.
Man, all quarterbacks so far. Mitch, Caleb Williams or Matt Stafford? Who to start?
Yeah, same answer. With Stafford traveling up to Seattle, the tough environment with rain and one of his best receivers, I would probably go with Caleb Williams there.
You can text us 225-396-4400, 396-4400, 396-4400. Charles, all quarterbacks so far, man. Lamar Jackson or Jordan Love? Who to start?
Well, Lamar Jackson hasn't looked like the fantasy stud that he usually is, but for some reason I think this is going to be a big week for him, rebound week, using his legs, probably a rushing touchdown. So I'm gonna go with Lamar here.
Finally, a non-quarterback question: George Pickens or Michael Wilson? Who to start?
Boy, I tell you that Michael Wilson, when Marvin Harrison Jr. is out, and especially if Jacoby Brissett is at quarterback, Michael Wilson is an absolute stud. I think MGH actually was practicing this week, so if he plays, I would bump Wilson down a little bit. If he doesn't play, Wilson's the play. Otherwise, you go with Pickens.
Here's one from Ben. Back to the quarterbacks: C.J. Stroud or Matt Stafford? Who to start?
Yeah, oh boy, this one's a little bit tougher. Stafford, like I said, I think I got ESPN right here, and I saw that Seattle's looking a little nasty in terms of weather. So I think I'm gonna go safe and say Stroud.
I'm trying to look right here to see if I can get an update. Like it's 40 right now. It's 45 degrees. Feels like it's 37, and there is light rain right now. I'm trying to see what it'll be at kickoff, but yeah, it's showing rain all the way up until about 8 o'clock tonight. So yeah,
it could be a little bit ugly. That ball's a little slick, and I mean Stafford knows how to play in those conditions. But for fantasy purposes, if you had somebody that's a little bit safer playing in a dome, then I would go with him.
Darren, we no show the next 2 weeks because of the holidays. Or do we still have a promo code available for folks that might be interested heading into their playoff run?
Yeah, you throw ESPN in there. That'll get you to the 10% off, and it is for a year. Our subscriptions are yearly, so it would last you through all of next year as well.
Awesome. Use the promo code ESPN over at whotostart.net. That's who2start.net, who2start.net. promo code ESPN. Darren, always appreciate it, man. So I would assume then by when we're back at the beginning of January, regular season will be over, so we'll be done?
That is correct. It's
Man.
been great talking to you again, Matt. Appreciate the support.
Man, it's our pleasure. Thanks for making the time. We're like going on a decade and a half, so let's just keep it rolling, man. Thanks, dude.
Thanks.
All right, buddy. Be well. That's Darren Teakin. It's After Further Review. We're brought to you by Lee Michaels Fine Jewelry, lmfj.com, lmfj.com. Hey, look, it's not too late to go get the perfect gift. You can thrill her or him with a gift in the red box from Lee Michaels Fine Jewelry. Yeah, ladies, maybe buy a beautiful watch for him. Wedding bands as well. I bought my wedding band at Lee Michaels, as a matter of fact, when Eric and I got married. Diamond engagement rings, beautiful necklaces, pendants, bracelets. They have everything. It's earrings, Lee Michaels Fine Jewelry. 10 locations and online at lmfj.com. Hour number 2 is next.
After Further Review.
Coming up after the top of the hour after SportsCenter, I do want to talk a little bit about an incredible honor for Mansour Delane that will put some context around. That's coming up. We'll head to Oxford to preview Ole Miss Tulane in about 35 minutes from right now. We are, as always, brought to you by our friends at South Point Volkswagen, southpointvw.com. The year is almost over, so the best time always to go buy a new vehicle, end of the month, end of the year, when inventory's got to go. So as we're talking here with 13 days left in the year, I mean, this is the time to go buy a new vehicle. The 26s are already showing up over at South Point Volkswagen, but the 25s, what's left of them, they got to go. So amazing time, as if there isn't always a great time, to go buy a brand new vehicle at South Point Volkswagen. Airline just north of Highland, or online at southpointvw.com, southpointvw.com. South Point Volkswagen, what's your direction?